Welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. At least 23 people have been killed and at least 65 injured after a metro overpass collapsed in Mexico City while a train was travelling on it. The dramatic footage shows at least 2 train carriages precariously hanging from the damaged overpass as emergency fire and medical crews initially used ladders to access the carriages. Mexico City's mayor said that a support beam had given way, causing the overpass to collapse. Rescue efforts were briefly interrupted at midnight because the partially hanging train was very weak and a crane had to be brought in for safety. India has passed 20 million COVID infections as the epidemic continues to devastate the country. India's second wave, fueled by lax safety protocols and massive public festivals and election rallies, has overwhelmed its hospitals. Delays in testing, diagnosis and treatment, as well as a shortage of critical care beds and crucial drugs, has resulted in a spike in deaths too. The Indian Premier League has also been postponed with immediate effect, with multiple reports of team bubbles being breached by positive cases. The United States regulator is expected to authorize the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for children aged 12 to 15 by next week. The announcement by the US Food and Drug Administration is set to come a month after the company found that its shot, which is already authorized for those aged 16 and over, also provided protection for the younger age group. The expansion would be a major development in the country's vaccination campaign and welcome news to some parents who had been anxious to protect their children during summer activities and before the start of the next school year. Foreign ministers from the world's leading economies have met in London for their first face-to-face talks in more than 2 years. The G7 discussed new ways for the group to defend international rules from external threats.
What we are trying to do is to uphold the international rules-based order that our countries have invested so much in over so many decades.
UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has led discussions on the crisis in Myanmar, as well as relations with Russia, China and Iran.
The reality is we've got a very similar position. We look to the opportunities. We want a constructive relationship with China, but on things, whether it's intellectual property theft or standing up for human rights in Hong Kong and Xinjiang, obviously we're going to be very clear on our values. And on Russia as well, I think we've seen, obviously with the Novichok attack and the imprisonment of Alexei Navalny, the saber rattling on the border with Ukraine, in all of these areas we want to be absolutely firm and standing shoulder to shoulder, not just with Americans, as important as they are, but also with our wider allies. That's why the G7 is so important.
Australia, India, South Korea and South Africa have also been invited as guests to the 3-day summit as the UK tries to deepen ties with the Indo-Pacific region. The Spanish Coast Guard has rescued 42 migrants who were drifting 30 miles off the island of Gran Canaria. The rescued migrants, who included 18 women and 3 children, disembarked at Arguinens port. The number of undocumented migrants arriving in the Canary Islands jumped 8-fold from 2019 to more than 25,000, with the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on tourism and other industries in North and Sub-Saharan Africa pushing more to embark on the dangerous journeys. Egypt has signed a contract with France to buy 30 fighter jets in a deal worth $4.5 billion. President Emmanuel Macron said in December he would not make the sale of weapons to Egypt conditional on a commitment to respect human rights because he did not want to weaken Cairo's ability to counter violence in the region. Egypt's defense ministry said the deal would be financed through a loan to be repaid over at least 10 years. And finally, Cairo's National Museum of Egyptian Civilization has unveiled a unique dining experience during the holy month of Ramadan. The museum inaugurated a restaurant called Maulay a few meters away from 22 royal mummies that were recently moved to the capital. The idea aims to give visitors a rare chance to dine at the restaurant and later enjoy a night visit of the museum. The usual opening hours are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m, but is also open from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. specifically for the restaurant's visitors. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.